All right, good morning, everybody. Welcome in. It is House Edge Live with John on Casino Gaming Central. We're still monkeying around here with setup and streams and all that kind of stuff. So bear with me as I click new buttons and make new things look differently and all that kind of stuff. But I think I've been saying it for Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday now. We're trying this thing where I'm streaming horizontally and vertically. So if you're watching the show and you're normally seeing me wide, that's great. If you're watching me and it's like this and I'm in the middle, also good. Let me know how whatever you're looking at, does it look good? That's what I want to know, number one. Number two, I'm trying to figure out, how does YouTube know which one to give you? Are you seeing them both? Like, it's kind of confusing the way that YouTube set this whole thing up for us now. So, and my software also does it, but I don't really think it's very clear to you, the user or the watcher, how it all freaking works. So anyway, working through it today, and I'm still trying to figure the buttons out. So apologies for any wonkiness that there is. Georgia Girl, thank you for the membership. I really appreciate that. You know, a little bit goes a long way, believe it or not. You know, we have we're not trying to make a living doing this, but we're definitely trying to pay the electric bill and the internet bill with it. So all that, every little bit always helps. I really, really appreciate that. So, all right, let's hop in. We're working through, obviously, our big ABCs of Gambling series here. And the reason why I do these kind of shows, the reason why, to me, it's important, is that I feel like a lot of people are, I hate to use the word uneducated. It's the wrong word to use, but I'm trying to think of the right way to frame this. Sometimes you just don't know what you don't know, because the casino is really good at hiding shit from you. They really are. They make it so easy to take all your money, right? And that's kind of why we're here, because I know, most of us know, they exist to bankrupt you, right? If you talk to people who've had gambling problems in the past, they will tell you the casino doesn't give two craps about you. Okay, I interviewed Gargoyle a year and a half, 2 years ago on this very topic. They didn't care what he was going through, not one bit. They're just like, more. Here's another ATM for you. They don't care, and everything they do psychologically is designed to make you part ways with your money, right? And they're not done until you're done. That's the truth of it, right? And that matters to me a great deal, and it matters to a lot of other YouTubers as well. There's a lot of us that are on the right side of this topic, where we're like, hey, we know these games are negative EV. We know you're probably going to lose over time. I'd like for you not to lose it all at once. I want you to have a good entertainment time while you're out there. And I want to give you a fighting chance when it does swing your way on the luck side. The casino doesn't want that. God forbid you get good at anything, you're out. Can't sports bet, can't card count, nothing, right? So that's kind of how this all came about, why I do the show. And frankly, I'm glad that when I hooked up with David at Casino Quest, they started coming around to, like, it's not always pedal to the gas or pedal to the floor, right? They're coming around more to this money management. And matter of fact, you talk to some of the casino execs, and although I don't take a lot of their money, right? I consistently take their money. They don't like that. They don't like people who understand money management and have discipline. They really, those are the ones that scare them. Their point of view is, if everybody had discipline and money management skills, if everybody was non-emotional when they played, if everybody understood how to work their bankroll, they would be in a little bit of trouble. They would probably make the margin, right? Instead of making more than the margin like they make now, because people lose too much money. They lose too much money. They lose more than the house edge because they're doing dumb things, making poor decisions. So for that reason, and that reason alone, we started another series called the ABCs of Gambling. And I think that we're starting to hit our stride with this. And I always try to find different ways to frame the same thing. So if I get repetitive, it is what it is, right? But I think you can't hear the same things often enough. And sometimes people come into the series in the middle. They don't start at the beginning. So some things will come repetitive. And I think ABCs give me a good way to kind of keep things in order, some kind of order. And it's fun. So today we're rocking the letter P. And the P is going to be interesting. We've got just a few topics today. It's actually kind of a shorter one, but may go a little bit deeper on a few things. And I want to cover, once again, I want to cover this idea of probability. We'll do a little bit, not a lot, of psychology talk. I want to talk about deck penetration as it relates to card counting. I want to talk about pressing your bets. And we could do, obviously, 1,000 shows on pressing your bets, because especially in a game of craps, right? Pressing is kind of the thing. That's what craps is all about, right? Craps is all about how, when, and how hard you press. But other games enjoy that too if you play your cards right, so to speak. We'll land on poker and a couple of last little things here in what we call the lightning round at the end. So, all right, let's go. I'm looking at, by the way, I'm going to go back to this scene here. Give me a second to go backwards, like a minute. Can I do that? And this? There we go. Okay, I'm trying to figure out how to get from bouncing around here. Let's see. I'm looking at some of the chats before I even start. Skill says you're seeing both notifications. It's your choice which to watch. Okay, so that tells me I need to put vertical or horizontal in parentheses next to the titles. I thought YouTube was going to do it automatically for you. I would have thought it would have picked your device and give you the right one. Really, if I was building a video service, that's what I would probably do. Maybe that's where they're headed with this. I don't know. All right. Is there a show tomorrow, Randall Hill? I'm planning on it tomorrow. Tomorrow's Friday. Yeah, Friday Follies tomorrow. I'm going to run something like that. What did I call it yesterday? The odds ladder. We'll run something like that tomorrow. If I can get my ass out of bed. Last 4 or 5 days I have not slept. So we'll see. We'll see. Hey, look who's here. Brian's here. Good morning, sir. How you doing? All right, let's get to it. Let's get the letter P. I'm gonna go here. Give me a second to get to where I want to be. I'm gonna go here and then here. That should get us there. Not to never forget. I want to go to this one. There we go. Let's start the letter P with this one, with probability. Now, we covered this, I think, quite a bit yesterday with the letter O. We looked at odds and probability in terms of how we calculate. And that was yesterday's show. It was a little mathy, right? Today, I want to talk more about why probability matters. Okay, what it means to you, right? So first, we'll do that test, right? The coin has come up, where you flip the coin, right? You get 5 heads in a row. Okay, maybe make it worse. Maybe we have 15 heads in a row. Okay, something crazy that's happening, right? What's the probability of heads on the next flip of the coin, right? Some people would say we're in a trend. Some people would say we're experiencing variance. Some people would say it's a streak. Regardless, you've had 15 in a row. So what's coming next? And I guess my question is, the real question is in chat, what would you bet on next and why? Maybe put that out. I'm going to bet heads because or tails because. Just put it out there while I'm talking, okay? I'm really curious to hear what your thoughts are or how your minds all work, okay? And if you're watching after the show, of course, put that in the comments, even after you've heard me tell you my thoughts on it, okay? And I'll say this. If anybody hesitated at all, you had to think about that. If any part of your brain said tails is due or heads is coming because it's coming, congratulations. Good job. I'll get to the thing. Now you know why you lose money, okay? Because the answer is, as Skill says, because it's 50-50, right? It's always 50-50. It's never not 50-50. If it's 3 heads, it's still 50-50. If it's 100 heads in a row, it's still 50-50. It doesn't matter. Unless you've got a machine that knows how to flip the coin exactly the right number of times so it lands on a certain way, there's no way for it to be anything other than 50-50. Okay? There was a pattern there. And hell, I could have even said, what if, and here's the thing. What if I would have said the pattern was heads, tails, heads, tails, heads, tails, heads, tails, heads, tails, heads. What's coming next? Most people will think tails. They're following the pattern that's happening in front of them. There's no difference. It's just 50-50 every time. That's what randomness means, right? But our brain always screams otherwise. Now, Chuck Ritter, I'm the same. I bet the streak. I bet what's happening in front of me, right? Why? It's easy. I bet it because it's easy. And again, I think the roulette boards that show you things like all the reds, all the blacks, shows you the pattern that happened, not what's coming up. But it's easier to recognize that was a pattern of 4, that was a run of 4, a run of 4. You can see that. You can bet that very easily. If the pattern was red, red, black, red, red, black, 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 red, and that exact pattern repeated, you'd never bet that. Even though that's just as likely to happen as 11 blacks in a row. There's no difference in probability there because it's always 50-50. But one pattern you can understand and you can bet and not F it up. One pattern you'll have a tough time deciphering. That's the reason why you bet the streak, honestly. Not because it's going to keep coming. It's easier, right? It's just easier. And when those streaks happen, and streaks of chop, streaks of one color or the other color or player or banker, or those things happen all the time. They have no weight on what's about to happen, right? And remember this, right? Your brain has been running software for 200,000 years, right? I've said this before. Our ancestors survived because they could recognize patterns, right? They would hear a rustle, tiger's coming to eat me, right? Better to have a false positive and not get eaten, right? But the casinos aren't that, right? The rustle in the bushes isn't a tiger, it's randomness in a casino. And the software we have sees patterns that just don't exist. We try to make something consumable or understandable out of craziness. Okay. And so the probability errors that I think most gamblers get bit by are some of these things. One, we're talking about overweighting the recent events. 5 reds in a row does not make black more likely. Doesn't make red more likely, but your brain is convinced that it can. A lot of people's brains are. I watch roulette players that obviously don't watch my show do this, right? It's why the scoreboard's there. It's not there to help you. It's there to activate that. It's activating that muscle, right? Humans also see patterns in randomness. The machine is hot. The table is cold. I always do better on Thursdays. Women, how many times, raise your hand in chat. Don't lie to me, by the way. Don't lie to me in chat. How many times have you heard said, or made different bets when a woman walks up to a craps table and says, I've never played this game before. How does it work? And I'll guarantee you, 90% of you will say, she's going on a hot roll. We've all said it. We've all seen it. We've all heard it. We've all witnessed it. Right? There's nothing there. There's no there. The dice don't give two shits who's throwing them. Unless your name is Ed or Bo or Dom or somebody who actually has a little bit of skill. Other than that, or George, right? Or Joe. Other than that, dice don't give two shits. If she's a virgin dice player or not. But we like to find that stuff. We find signal in the noise because that's what our brains understand, right? We misunderstand independence. Every spin, every roll, every deal, separate event. What happened before does not influence the future at all. In blackjack, yes, the density of the shoe does matter as far as what's been dealt. If there's a shoe, we'll talk about that here in a little bit. But that's a real thing, right? Everything is independent. And I think I'm not asking you to make, math calculations at the table, right? I want you to accept the fact what probability tells us, right? Even when your gut is telling you the opposite, probability is what it is. And like I said, we evolved to spot predators, right? Not calculate odds. That's not what our brains are good at, right? But the problem is probability and your intuition will disagree at some point. And when they do, probability is always right. Your intuition at a table is never once, not ever right. I'm just stating a fact. All right. Next up, let's switch sides here. We'll talk a little bit about psychology. And again, I don't want to do a whole treatise on psychology, but things that we know to be true are this. House edge and blackjack with perfect basic strategies, about a 0.5% edge on you, right? That's $5 per thousand that you wager over a 4-hour session at $20 or $25 a session or a hand. You're betting about $1,000, right? Over time, you're exposing about $1,000. So if that's the case, and that costs you about $30, 30, 40, $50. It isn't like it's a lot of money, right? That edge, it's not a lot. But how is it that people are losing thousands of dollars? This fascinates me, right? If you're going to be a pass line bettor in craps, it's a 1.4 house edge. If you're going to be a basic blackjack player, it's 0.25. You sit there with your quarters and you grind away, and either you get lucky today or unlucky today, but you should lose about $30 an hour if you're playing $25 a hand and at a decent clip. How do people lose thousands in that same amount of time? Think about that, because this is real. And Ken from Ken Ben's Gambling's out there. You've lived the life. You know what this is all about. You watch more people play next to you than most of us probably have. What is it that makes somebody lose thousands while somebody is tying, while somebody is winning on the same set of outcomes at a baccarat table, especially? What is it? Psychology, right? The edge on most of these games is small. That slice they take, that 1%, a little bit of profit on if you average it all out, their overall house edge is on the table games between 1 and 3%. If you average everything out, it's not like it's a lot, right? But the psychological edge they have on us is enormous. And unlike math, which is fixed, math is what math is. You can't change it. The psychological vulnerabilities that we have, they get exploited in real time. So there's bugs in the software. We talked about this, the software we have in the last segment. Loss aversion, right? Think about this. Losses hurt twice as much as an equivalent win feels good. You lose $100, you're fucking pissed. You win $100, you're like, okay, that's cool. I'm on the way to my goal, right? We had this disconnect with that, right? And that's why people chase. A $200 loss creates enough pain in most people that they'll risk another $200 to erase it. Now, even though that makes no mathematical sense, okay? There's a fallacy out there called sunken cost. Have you ever heard of this one, sunken cost? It says, I've already put 5 hours into this session. You know what I mean? I can't leave now. I put too much time in it, right? I've been there myself where I've gone to a craps table, bought them for $1,000, lost 500 right away, and ground away for the next 2 hours and earned that $500 back and got to about even. I'm like, man, I got 5 hours into this freaking thing. I got myself back ready to even. Now we can go, right? You can leave. You put in work. The 5 hours are gone. The only question is, what are you going to do in the next hour, right? Your brain treats that past investment as like a reason to keep on rolling, and it's not. If you're down and you claw back, you've won. You've won $500 to get the $500 loss back. That's putting in work. Unfortunately, you weren't even when you got the $500 win. You were down. Okay, Sarah, you fight again tomorrow. That's the way this has to work. Your brain has got to get out of its own freaking way. All right. Another concept is called variable enforcement. It's a big one, right? Unpredictable rewards are more addictive than predictable ones. Think about that sentence. Unpredictable awards are more addictive than predictable ones. That's why slot machines work. You don't know what's going to happen. It's way more fun when that thing goes off. That's why David loves Keno, right? That's why people play the ATS. Unpredictable. You don't know when it's going to happen, but when it comes, you're like, woohoo, right? That's why we keep playing when we lose, though, because the next win could come any minute. And the dopamine system in your brain's getting hijacked, right? There's something called the near miss effect also, right? 2 cherries and a blank on a slot machine feels like you almost got it, right? Or like, you're running a hard way parlay on craps, right? You got $1 on the hard 6 and it runs and it hits, boom. Parlay that thing, or it goes to $10. $10, next roll's a hard 6. Oh my God. Parlay it, go to 100, right? Take the $1 and let's make 1,000 out of it, right? And then they roll a regular 6. And you're like, geez, I was almost there. I was almost there. Turn $1 to 10, 10 to 100. The next hits $1,000, right? $900. Wouldn't that be great? I've done it a couple of times. Wouldn't it be great? How many times do you never get that last one? You're almost there. You're almost there. Or you're one away from the tall. You're almost there, right? That's a real feeling, right? And the casino games are, especially the longer pulls, right? The ATS, the fire bet in crap, some of the side bets. Oh, I almost had the 3 hearts, whatever that freaking side bet in blackjack is. I almost had the perfect pairs, right? One away, I would have had the $64,000 jackpot. That is a psychological suck job. It just pulls you into these games. Those near misses, I'm telling you, that it's such a pull. They got you like a fish, right? You got to look at the casino floor with fresh eyes, right? There's no windows, there's no clocks. You can't tell what time it is, right? The oxygen's always pumping, right? You're always alert for the most part. They can oxygenate you through the drinks, which are free, that impair your judgment and they extend your time. The layout makes you have to pass things they want you to see on the way to the bathroom, right? Palace Station, love that casino. What's in front of the bathroom? Bubble craps. Right there on the way in, right? And right on the way out. It's you go from craps table to bubble craps to the toilet, right? Literally, that's where your money probably goes to. But the way they've set it up is for this reason. Every design choice that they make, the music, the sounds, the volume, where things are, is all there to exploit something specific. One of these little vulnerabilities that we have. It's all there for that. You're not playing a game. You're walking through an experiment. Literally. And the only defense that you've got is understanding your brain well enough to recognize when it's being manipulated, which is most of the time. Okay. So again, their edge is very small, right? their psychologically their psychological edge, as I note on screen, is massive. The actual house edge is tiny. You make it worse. You make every game worse. House edge on blackjack is less than 1%. The hold on a blackjack table is 10 or 12% because people are stupid. They get sucked into the mojo. Very, very careful. Be very, very careful. All right, next up we have deck penetration. Now, I want to talk a little bit about how card counting works. And I know that's kind of going away. We'll talk about that here in a second. But why they've worked so hard to solve the problem. Okay. So first of all, it's not magic. Card counting is not magic. It's not memorizing the cards that get played. It's about tracking the balance between the high cards and the low cards. It's all that you're looking for. And the big takeaway on that is a deck that's what we call rich in tens and aces. There's lots of big cards. It favors you. Okay. Blackjack pays 3-2 for you, right? You want lots of big cards in the deck to help you out with the double downs, right? You want a lot of aces in the deck to maybe pop some more blackjacks for you, right? The dealer, because they have very specific rules on how they draw, the more tens are in the deck, the more likely they're to bust. They're forced to hit those stiff hands. They just are, right? That's why it's good for you. So we keep a count. We call it the running count. You start at 0. All the low cards, 2 through 6, you add 1. High cards, you subtract 1. Neutral cards, you ignore them, right? The running count is positive, meaning more low cards have been played. The remaining deck is what we call rich. I call it thick. It's a thick shoe. Good. It's good for you, right? And the thing that separates the real card counters from those of us who are, amateurs at it is the true count. So a running count, what we just talked about, of plus 10 means something very different. When there's 6 decks in the shoe and there's 1 deck in the shoe. If they've dealt most of that shoe out and you're at a plus 10, the number of 10s that are in that, the percentage of 10s in a little bit of a deck that's left, a little bit of shoe that's left, is enormous. So the true count divides the running count by the decks that are remaining. So plus 10 with 5 decks left is a 2. A plus 10 with 1 deck left is a 10. Massive difference. A massive difference. So what the casino does is a couple of things to combat this. Okay. One is, and what we're talking about today, is deck penetration. Okay. Deck penetration means when you're playing blackjack and it's a hand dealt game, they give you the little yellow card. They give you one of these guys here. Right? And you cut the deck and they do the thing where they cut the deck and the dealer puts the card back in the deck. That's where they stop dealing, right? They put the little card in there. That's when they stop coming from the shoe. In some casinos, it's a 70%. They go all the way to the end of the shoe. 70% gets dealt, which means in a 6-deck game, right, you have about a deck and a half or so left at the end that's not being dealt out. Some casinos, and again, know this. You got to know this by researching this. On the strip especially, right? On the strip normal guy games, right? The $15 games, 50% penetration. They'll only give you half the shoe, which means your card count is really ineffective. The true count means nothing. If half the cards are left, always, it's an 8-deck shoe. You have 4 decks that are never getting dealt to you. The thickness of the shoe is much more inaccurate. So your count is not as accurate as it could be. Makes sense, right? That's why you look for 1 or 2 deck games. And even a 1 or 2 deck game, they only deal it twice, right? Penetration matters more than anything to a card counter. A 6-deck game, 8-deck game, doesn't matter how many decks they're playing with. It matters how many decks they get to. What's the penetration? One of the things that I put into the Nexus Blackjack app is, especially when you create your own games that are custom to you, you can choose the deck penetration. We're going to go to 50, 60, 70, 80, 90% penetration. You can practice your counting skills on different penetrations because it matters. And when you're at a casino and you watch them shuffle and you look and you go, oh God, they put that thing halfway through. It's a 50% game. You have to know that. If you're going to try and be a card counter and change your bet levels based on the count, you better know how far they're going into that shoe. Otherwise, you're wasting your time. So casinos have done that. They've reduced penetration physically to stop card counters. But the real thing that they've done is eliminated it altogether. Most strip casinos now have card shuffling machines, right? There is no more shoe in a lot of casinos. Now, the machines are really expensive. And they have one here in Wenatchee, actually. And the thing's broken all the time. I think the shuffling thing, I think it costs like $5,000, and it's always broke. They're always hand shuffling here because the machine's broken. It costs a lot of money to fix it. A lot of little parts in there to keep the shuffle going. But those shuffle machines don't have any penetration. There's zero penetration. They deal a couple of hands. They put all the cards back in. There's 8 decks in there being shuffled. They're dealing 2 hands, maybe 3 hands out of that whole thing, and it gets reshuffled. There is no count. You can't count that because you never get into the shoe at all. It's always the first, whatever it is, 17 cards out of an 8 deck shoe. That's how they've stopped it. There's nothing to track because there's no remaining deck to analyze. So casinos used to focus on trying to catch card counters and beat them up and throw them out and all that kind of stuff. So the better way to beat them, honestly, is not by catching them. It's by changing the math. They made it so they either deal fewer cards to penetration, so you're ineffective, or they've taken the casinos that can afford the hand or the auto shuffling machines, eliminated altogether. Why does it matter? So again, they solved their problem, right? They solved their own problem. The problem of us having, God forbid, use your brain to do something, right? Why does it matter if you're not counting, right? If you're not a card counter, and I'm not, by the way, I don't count cards. To me, it's not worth the time and effort to make $11 an hour. It's not. But why does it matter to me anyway? Why does it matter to you? Answer it in chat. Why do you give 2 shits as a craps player, as a roulette player, that the casino has eliminated card counting? Why does that matter? It matters to me because the casinos know where their vulnerabilities are, okay? And they engineer solutions around them. If there's any hole, any chink in the armor, the casino fills that hole like that. The second they can figure out how to spackle over a hole in the wall, they will do it. And they will hire the best wall guy in the world to plug that hole. They don't rely on surveillance anymore. They don't let humans, where they can, make those kind of calls. They use math. They eliminate shit from you. This is what it's precision. It's like a stealth bomber. They're just like, we're going to stop that. We're going to stop this. We're going to stop that. That's what they do, right? It tells you all you need to know about how they think and operate. I said this to you a few weeks back. When somebody shows you who they are, believe them. And again, the casino, I said in the very first slide today, they exist to bankrupt you. If you get good at something like card counting, where you can potentially shift house edge from being negative 0.5%, which is nothing, to positive 0.5%, they're like, nope, we're not having it. We'll spend $10,000 on a bunch of card counting machines in the pit and pay a guy $100K a year to maintain them so they never fail. That's worth more. That's worth the money. So you can't make $11 an hour as a card counter. Literally, that's how they think. So again, when they peel back the face-off thing, when they peel it back and show you what they're all about, believe it, because that's exactly how the casinos think of you. They think zero. Actually, I was going to say that they think nothing of you. They think a lot of you. They believe that there's people out there that can really take them to the cleaners. They won't have it. They will not have it. It is what it is. All right, next up. Pressing bets. I love pressing bets, right? Especially with craps game, right? You're winning a bunch, right? 3 hands in a row. You've won. The 6s come for whatever it is. You're feeling it, baby, right? Do you press? And I know some people don't press, or they press very, very little, right? The mathematical answer is this: it doesn't matter to the probabilities. The next hand is the same odds, whether you press or not. And also, if you and I think there's merit to this, and there's also not. When you run a million simulations, if I same bet forever, right? If I press by 1 unit forever, right? If I go, let's just take a pass line bet. I go 25 and I same bet it for my life. I go 25, and if I win, I go to 30. If I win, I go to 35. If I win, I go to like 1 unit little presses, right? If I do both of those things side by side, guess what happens in the end? Can anybody tell me what happens in the end? In chat, tell me what happens in the end. If one player is pressing a little bit, one player stays the same. What happens? I'll give you the answer. They both go to zero. They both eventually lose all their money. Doesn't matter. The guy who's pressing actually delays his profit. If you think about that, if you're pressing with your wins, you're delaying your profit. One guy's collecting $25, one guy's collecting 20. Next hand, The same bettor collects another 20. He's got 50. The other guy gets 25 and goes higher. He's still chasing the other. He's down a little bit, down in potential profit. It's really about targeting. Pressing is about targeting and having discipline. If you're going to press your bets, that's great. Once you exceed the expected value of your initial bet, that's when you have to make that stop go decision, right? Once you're collecting more than your initial bet was. So if I go from 25 to 30, 30 to 35, 35 to 40, now I'm collecting more with my next hit than what my initial bet was. That's the time that pressing worked for you. But all the times that you didn't get to that third hit or whatever your amounts are, pressing cost you. So beware of that, right? It's how you can turn a small win though, or a small little variant, 5, 6, 8 in a row, into something big, right? Pressing, you can go from a $10 5 to a $500 win in five hits. You can't make $500 with 5 $10 hits. If you are aggressive with it, you can take it for a long way. All right. That's it. It's just a thing we have to be kind of, I think, in touch with, right? So I'll explain the case for both, right? So for pressing, again, flat betting, the same every hand. It's a safe approach. It's boring. There's a ceiling to how much you can win. You'll never have a story, right, of the night you ran $100 into 1,500 if you're a flat bettor. It'll just never happen unless you get 50 in a row, right? You'll never have that story to tell. And if you're there for the story, you're probably there for the wrong reason. But what I'm saying is that will just not happen, right? Pressing, you can attack a streak with what we call, hate to say it, house money, right? With your profits. You win 3 at 25, right? You're up 75. If you go to 50, you're risking what we call unrealized gains. You're using your profits, right? But now your wins are double sized, and you still have you're still up your initial bet, right? If you press to a point and then go, right? The key phrase I know is it's a house money thing, right? And I know we've talked about it. It's your money. It's your money once you win it, but the psychological and strategical way to say it is that. And really risking your recent winnings is different than risking your rent. I think there's a case to be had there, right? So, all right, let's look at how overpressing can hurt too, because you're up $300 and you're pressing because you're hot and you lose 2 in a row at that higher level, right? You may have lost 100 instead of 50, and now you're back down only being up 100. It feels like psychologically that you've lost $200. You could be up 300 pressing, right? Lose that, still be up 100 and feel like you lost. You realize that? What a mind game that is? So you stay back at the table and you go back to that higher rate again to get back to that $300 win, and you lose again. Now you're even, right? So now you're pressing to get even and you're down. The $300 win can become a loss because pressing got emotional to you. We talked about the emotions earlier. If you weren't following a plan, you're chasing a feeling. And the solution is having a press plan that has a lock, right? So before you press, know the answers to the questions. When do I press? After how many wins? By how much? When do I reset to base? How many losses will I accept at a higher level? When do I lock the profits? At what point do the winnings just come down? Okay. My advice, and this is why I do things like the G Money special on the 9 and the 5, right? I have plans that I do. I have systems for every number. A, so I don't forget. B, I know what the output's going to be. And C, I know what it takes to get there, right? Create a system for yourself, right? It could be up 1 unit and pull, up and pull, up 50% and pull. But half of your win out there every time, right? You can go a full press and then a collect in rhythm, right? You can go press, then collect, or collect, then press. Whatever it's going to be, whatever the rhythm is that you want to be into, lock into the rhythm. Just ensure that the rhythm gets you out, gets you even and playing with that excess profit quicker, and that your wins actually can compound a little bit. And when you lose at the higher levels, that was the chance you took. You risked unrealized gains to make more money. If you lose that, you have to disconnect from that. It's the hardest part of the whole thing. When you press high, you have to disconnect from what you have in action. As long as you have profit in your rack, you got to disconnect from what's out there. If you cannot disconnect, Do not press. If you cannot disconnect, pull it down. You're not ready for it. Just talking truth. All right. If you press with a plan, you can capture a streak. If you press with emotion, you're going to give all of it back. So be careful with that. All right. Last up, poker. Everything we've talked about in this series, for the most part, has this common thread. You're playing against the casino's edge. Whether it's blackjack, craps, roulette, slots, whatever it is, the math is designed to grind you into the pavement. Poker, though, is different. It breaks that model. In poker, the casino doesn't care who wins. They take their cut. It's called the rake. They take the rake off of every pot. Usually it's 5-10%, whatever it is. Right? And then they're done. They're providing you a service. What happens at the poker table is between you and everybody else at that table, and that changes everything, right? In blackjack, as you know, perfect strategy, 0.5%. Math guarantees it. You can flip it with card counting, but that's really it. In poker, there's no ceiling, right? If you're better than the players at your table, you win their money, period. The rake is the cost of doing business. We don't care about that. But it doesn't create an unbeatable edge like the other games do. It's just overhead. That's why poker professionals actually can exist. Real sustainable, this is my job, pro poker players. They're not mythical beasts, right? They're real people that grind out a living because skill beats luck over a sample size. Effectively, the professional poker player is working the edge like a casino does. They will take skill and their math, over the luck of some random ass like me coming out there. You don't see pro blackjack players anymore. The auto shufflers killed it. You don't see pro craps players anymore. There's no edge they can really exploit. But you walk into any card room and you'll find regulars who pay their mortgages by taking other people's mortgages, right? I know people who go to the card rooms in Florida in the morning because the senior citizen bus drops the old farts off in the morning for a couple hours. Guys are in there just waiting for them to show up, and they're just taking those IRS checks, right? It's part of the reason why I can't be a poker player. My face gives it away. I wouldn't be very good. But B, I have a real problem with taking somebody's. I don't want to be the casino. I don't want to take somebody's mortgage, right? That'll be hard for me to physically do, but it's possible, right? And so I say this not lightly, but for every poker player who makes a living at it, there's a dozen recreational players funding them. The money comes from somewhere, right? In a zero-sum game without the rake, you're winning because somebody else loses. Like, what's funny to me is people get so pissed off in craps about the don't pass players. Oh, you're rooting against me. You want me to lose, and I hate you for that, right? You go play poker, that other person is literally taking your money. If I'm betting the don't and you're on the place bets, I'm not taking your money. We're both at risk. I'm not taking your money. In poker, I am taking your money. Okay? One thing to realize too in poker, like I said, if you sit down at a poker player and you can't tell who the weakest person is, guess who it is? It's you, right? It's a whole different skill set. You're not calculating edge. You're reading people. You're managing position. You're calculating pot odds against the implied odds. You're exploiting tendencies, right? Much higher variance. In blackjack, your skill can reduce your losses. In poker, skill can make you a big winner or a big loser if you overestimate things. So the question in poker is never, can I beat the casino? The question is, can I beat the people I'm sitting with today? Am I better than them? And that's a much harder question to answer, but again, it's why pros exist. And as I say on screen here, if you can't spot the fish, it's you. The hook's in your mouth. So beware of that. All right, here we go. Last slide, lightning round. I got two things here that are the letter P, but don't really deserve a whole speech, right? Patience goes along with discipline. The casino is designed for action, right? Patience is the way you rebel against that, right? It means waiting for the right conditions instead of forcing the action. It's walking past 5 tables to find the right one, the best payouts for you. It's waiting for somebody to leave the 3-2 blackjack table versus getting impatient and sitting down at the Spanish 21 table next to it. That's patience. It's flat betting through a cold streak or reduction betting through a cold streak. instead of pressing to make it happen. It's leaving after 2 hours when you plan to leave after 2 hours, right? The casino profits from impatience. Every design choice that they have pushes you towards more decisions, faster time or faster decisions, and more time there. Don't play at their tempo, play at your tempo. The pass line is the other one. And again, the pass line's craps 101. I don't want to teach the whole thing, right? And when you play with odds, it's the best bet in the house. It's the best. The odds are the best financial play you can make, right? The mechanics are simple, right? Come out roll, the shooter makes the point, or they set a point by a number 4, 5, 6, 8, 9, 10, or they roll a 7 or 11 and you win. 2 through 12, you lose. That's it. Craps is easy. The edge is small, about a 1.4%, and the odds, which are paid true, can be added to it. And they reduce the house edge by quite a bit. You can get to a 10x odds table. The house edge goes down to 0.2%. Less. It's the one way to get below blackjack is by craps with 10x odds. Okay, while it's boring, and it is boring to play that way. I played a whole month live on my table out here, where I just played pass line, one combat, max odds, and at the end of the month I tied, just like you're supposed to. I think I lost about $50 instead of making money. It was the one month in the entire series that I did on building a bankroll where playing that way cost me a tie, which is what it's designed to do, by the way, right? You'll always tie when you're playing the pass line with odds. For that reason, though, it's why I believe it's the way to teach people how to play. I think all new players should play pass line with odds, come bets with odds, for two reasons. One, they're not going to get hurt. Over time, they will probably just about tie, right? Maybe give or take a few bucks. You can learn the game cheap. You can teach the game to a friend without having to dive into all the mechanics of everything. Just trust me, dude. Just play the pass line, put some odds. Then they can watch the game happen and understand what's going on while that bet is resolving. It's a slower paced game, right? It's a great way to teach, great way to experience it in the beginning and really understand the rhythm of the craps table. Then you can add the more volatile, higher house edge bets that can accelerate profits in a good run. But it's a good way to kind of get rolling. So the pass line, I know a lot of us poo-poo it, even the don't pass players, right? It's a great way to experience the game and really just watch what's going on and hear the vocabulary, watch folks play, and kind of feel some of the energy. So, all right, I think that's the letter P. I think if I go here, I think we're done. That was the letter P, and I hope you had enjoyed that one. It was a good episode. The segments are a little longer today because the topics are a little bit deeper, but they're all important things, and I think hopefully this series lives on and provides some good food for thought for folks. It's going to take me a hot minute to kind of get through all of it and kind of suss the videos down. But if you're liking the series, let me know. Just give me a thumbs up. If you think somebody needs to know what I'm talking about over here, may not be the worst idea to share this with them, right? Let them share in some of the wealth, I suppose, right? I think that's something we can all maybe help each other out with a little bit. All right. So let's check out if there are questions in the chats, and I'm going to run through it. So let me go back. Oh, there's a lot of chats today. Let me go search for the uppercase Q. So we've already talked to Randall. Yes, so I'm planning on a show tomorrow if I can wake up in time for sure. Why does the rich deck favor me versus the rich deck? Well, the thing with the rich deck, Ken, the reason why we say this in card counting is that the more 10s there are, because the dealer has to hit a 16. They have to hit the 16, right? You don't have to hit that. The dealer has to hit it. The extra 10s cause more dealer busts. That's why it's better for you than the dealer. On the smaller hands, when they've got like a 7 or something, yeah, the 10s will get you. But when they're building their hand up, the more 10s that are left in the deck, the thickness of that shoe can hammer a dealer into more bust than normal. So it helps you on both sides of that. All right. The status of my table, Dr. S, is I heard from Casino Supply on Monday. They apologized because they've been busy and they haven't gotten to my design yet. So I'm still waiting for the new Casino Gaming Central logo to get on my design, and then I just got to give them $200 and it'll be here. So I'm just waiting. It's just a waiting game with them. So that's all that is. All right, what else do we have? I'm looking for, is it Z? Let's see. What does Chuck Ritter say? Chuck's saying to something. Chuck, I'm going to try and filter your chats out. Yeah, I'm going to put some of these up because you're right. There's some things up here that are important, right? Casinos are greedy, and we say this a lot, right? They want you to lose always, right? Have they taken the fun out of the game? I think they're trying to find ways to make it more fun, right? They like the side bets. The side bets are hella fun, right? ATS and craps, some of the fun things in blackjack, they are actually fun to play. And when they win, it's really cool and a lot of high fives. They make it funner to lose your money faster. Let's put it that way. All right. Yeah, it's only your money if you leave with it. I love that saying, right? The house, you're talking about house money there. It is only your money if you leave with it. If you put it back out there again, what I used the term earlier was unrealized gains. You've got the gain, you got the profit. It's not realized profit until you walk away with it, right? Jacob from Rage Me This always says this, right? Take your profits and go buy something. Like leave the casino up $500, buy something. Go get a new pair of shoes, a TV set, buy your kids some clothes, take an online course, spend the money on something. That way you realize the profit and put it to something good. You may be building bankroll, that's totally fine. But realize the gains. If you're pressing, you're using those unrealized gains, those profits to make more. You're compounding it, which is good if the variant continues for you. All right. Going through here, I don't see anything else. I'm trying to find, again, it's hard for me to look at the chats because I can't tell when I'm supposed to read on without the Q in front of it. So, John, this is a good Ken. John Patrick's little 3 is flawed. Theory, logic, and trends. You're right about this, and I'll go a step further with you, right? This is the one part of John Patrick I don't agree with, right? Theory is important. Everybody's logic is different. You're right about that, Ken. I'll put that back up there. Everybody's logic is not the same. So it's hard to quantify that in a book or in any kind of thing we can teach, right? And you know me, I'm not a believer in trends, right? I've embraced this notion I talked about earlier of probability and randomness. I don't think anything happens because of what happened before. I think streaks happen, but I don't call them trends because nothing made it happen. It's just randomness became a thing that's a cluster, right? So I don't believe in that. However, betting properly when things are going in a little bit of a run is important. And I think he's right about that. I just don't like the word trend. Anyway, what else do we have here? I think that's it. I think it's everything. All right. Let me, if I missed something, I'm sorry. But you gotta put the cues in front of it so I can find them in the end. So I've got to run. I got my meeting at work. I'm actually 2 minutes late for it. So I will leave you with the final thing here, which is the inspiration station quote of the week, which is the mob mentality. Again, it's a football thing, which I love. I think this fits everywhere in your life, right? Mission over bullshit. MOB. It's such a great way to frame me, the way that I approach my life. I just do not let the noise get in the way of my signal. I just don't do it. I at the tables, I don't do that. My job, I don't do that. With my marriage, I don't do that. This is such a great, I'm actually going to make this into a wall art. It's such a great saying. Mission over bullshit. It's just such a good way to walk life. So anyway, take that with you. I've got to run. I got work. But until tomorrow, Friday Follies will be a fun show. I'm just going to play some craps here on my little table, and we're going to have a good old time. I love you all. Have a great day. God bless everybody. I'll see you tomorrow for Friday Follies. I'm out.